Grand Rising lovers, welcome to our channel. My name is Kayla. Trey and Zion are here as well, and we are at the Love Health Market Homestead. If this is your first time here, thank you for tuning in. This video is going to be dedicated to things that I've learned as a first-year gardener. Now, this is my first time ever gardening, really, other than houseplants. And I have 0.3 acres in Zone 9B, Central Florida. Right now it is, I'll tell you the exact temperature, and it's 9:44 a.m. It's 84 degrees. It says it feels like 88. So that just goes to show you how hot and how extreme the climate is here. But you can also adapt these tips to whatever zone you're in. So first of all, let's just get into it. The first thing that I learned is the necessity of water. So I could dedicate an entire video to this, and I probably will, because water is as essential to plants as it is to us. If your plants are not being watered properly, you will not get good results. And if you do, shout out to God, because that's really the only thing that made that plant grow. Water is the most important thing that you need in the garden, more than fertilizer and more than soil. You can actually just grow some things directly in water. It's called hydroponics. But watering at the right time, watering in the right increments, that means on schedule, and the watering enough, watering deeply, are going to be three major things. I'm not going to go too far into it. Like I said, I'm going to make an entire video about this, and I also have a video about drip irrigation that you can watch in this top right corner. And yeah, those things have completely changed the homestead, as you can see. The next tip is to not put your garden beds too far away from your water source. Now, I know this might seem like the same as the first tip, but it's not. Because if you put your water source too far away from your garden beds, which is why I keep pointing to that direction, because my water source is far, it forces it to be a chore to have to water your garden, which means you most likely won't water your garden as much as you should. So if you're not going to install drip irrigation, then make sure your water source is close to your bed so you can provide that plant with enough water. The next tip is that in the summer, shade cloths may be necessary. In my case, they're completely necessary, and I'm actually looking into more ways to get shade into the garden. Definitely utilize the, I don't know what the name of it is, but when you use a shrub layer, a tree layer, a ground cover, David the Good talks a lot about this. Shout out to David. It's very important that you can create microclimates in the garden. That way you're spending less money here, and you're making it a more biodiverse environment, because at the end of the day, a tree can provide that plant much more nutrients than a T-post can. So in this bed, you can see we have moringa acting as our shade cover, or our tree layer, and then we also have some bush layer broccoli covering the watermelon. It's just an entire climate of biodiversity, so that's what you want in the garden. The next tip is something that I always say I'm gonna do and never do. Make sure that you trellis your vegetables before they grow, before you plant them, before they need it. So if you do this afterwards, which I, like I said, am a victim of this, I don't know why. It really doesn't make any sense, because every time it proves the same result. But if you don't trellis your tomatoes or just certain things before it's time for them to need a trellis, their branches could break, and the branches that will break most likely will be the ones that are flowering with the fruit on them, because that's just how life works. So make sure you are trellising your plants that need to be trellised before it's time. The fifth tip that I have for you guys is that planting charts are not lying. Make sure you're planting things during season. Last year I moved into this homestead and I was in such a rush to get everything into the ground because I really wanted a harvest, and I finally had the space, and let's just call it what it was. I was overzealous and very excited. So a lot of the things that I had planted either didn't sprout, or if they did, they didn't last very long because I was planting during the wrong season. So especially if you're in zone 9B, our seasons are very finicky, very extreme. There's not much wiggle room for like shoulder crops, especially with the summer months. The only time you might be able to pull that off is winter, maybe fall, but definitely not summer, definitely not spring. And take advantage of the plants and the vegetables and the fruits that are in season, and just plant a lot of those, so if you want a big harvest you can get one. But don't try to plant an array of things that may or may not be in that exact month. When I say the month is crucial, if it's like potatoes are able to come through in June and you're planting them in May, they're not gonna work out. Plant them in June. My sixth tip, I believe this is 6, is that plant babies are babies and should be treated like such. So I'm sitting up so we understand this matter crucially, because the language didn't translate for me. The seedlings and seeds, that sounds so disconnected, you know. We also have our seeds at some point. We also are babies. Our seedlings are these fragile substances full of energy at some point. We don't need all of the extra things that we give, or that people sometimes give to plants, like fertilizers, or too much water, or too much sunlight, too much exposure. Treat your plant babies as babies. Monitor them, but let them do their thing. All they need is water, a consistent amount on a scheduled time, just like a baby would. Don't overcomplicate things, and make sure the foundation is good, as in their bed. So the soil should not be heavy in nutrients. It should be a pretty decent, bland, all-purpose soil. That's how I at least have garnished my results, and you are on my channel, so I'm just telling you how we do things here. But plant babies are babies. They're not seeds, they're not seedlings. Once that seed is fertilized, then you have a baby. So care for it with love. Don't do too much. Don't stress yourself out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you'll see better results by just using these tips that I've given you. Next tip, which is also something that I'm getting much better at, is plant spacing. If you crowd your plants too much, you won't get big harvests. Some of them won't even grow too tall at all. So make sure that you're spacing the plants out based on what the package says. If you go smaller, just expect that you'll have a smaller size plant or a smaller harvest. The 8th tip is that bugs are your friends and not your foe. Now, this has been one of the biggest journeys with me in the garden, and something that I'm so proud to say that I am no longer scared of bees. I used to be terrified of bees. I'm still battling my wasp fear. Snakes do not bother me as much as they did. Many things that would bother me are no longer bothering me because I understand the importance of them, the necessity, and I've just all around become a lot more comfortable with them living in the space that we create through light. So don't use fertilizers. I mean, if that's your thing, Not gonna speak too much on that, but friends, they're friends, not foe. We couldn't live without them, literally. I'll just keep it simple, okay? And my last tip is that it gets easier. So if you're beginning your journey like I was last year and you're feeling super overwhelmed, then definitely know that it gets easier. You're gonna kill a few things. You're gonna underwater, you're gonna overwater, you're gonna over fertilize, under fertilize. Bugs are gonna eat your plants. You're gonna get, some of them may get burned from the sunlight. So many things happen, but don't give up, and it definitely gets easier. I'm gonna do a whole video dedicated to resources that you can use to help your gardening journey become easier. But I'll just say, number one, this channel and YouTube in general is a wonderful free source that you can use to make sure that you're able to monitor the results of your plants versus other people's plants, especially in your zone. So I didn't say that. Make sure to always look into gardeners and resources that are in your zone. Don't look at how to plant things in zone 8 if you're in zone 7. It does not work like that. Make sure to look at zone 8. Everything that you do, the planting charts, the watering schedules, everything should be dedicated to your zone. So make sure that it's something that you are utilizing. And yeah, it gets easier. It's nothing that you do when you start out, you're a pro. And it's tough when you're comparing yourself to other people who have been doing it way longer than you, like I was. But when you do finally get that confidence and you get that stride, it's nothing like it. So I'll be sending that abundance to you. I'll be sending you peace, love, and light. Until then, until next time, love and light. Oh, make sure you hit that like button on this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and comment below if this video helped you or if you have any questions about anything that was said. Peace.